Are you filming now or not?
Maybe.
If that's real, that's like a bag.
I know.
Maybe two.
People have their own reasons for turning to second-hand fashion, whether it be a step towards living more sustainably or wanting to find unique clothes that stand out from the crowd. The demand for vintage is constantly growing, and the resale market is expected to make up 10% of total retail by 2023. This is Grail Hunters, where we explore some of the UK's best vintage shops to find some rare pieces and meet the people selling them.
My name's Jack Grover. I run Simply Vintage Clothing.
I took my friends Lucas and Jackson with me to meet Jack, the owner of Simply Vintage, at their warehouse in Passfield. Whilst the boys had a browse through the rails, I sat down with Jack to find out where this all began.
When I was about 14, 15, I used to, like people do now, go into charity shops, pick up pieces for cheap, sell it on. Then it progressed to having a small section in my mum and dad's garage, then into a pop-up shop in Guildford, then to a small studio, big studio, new shop which I've got now, and now the warehouse. The reason I kind of mainly started is because you never know what you're going to find. I walked into a charity shop once and there was like this ridiculous Burberry jacket in there, and then there's like a Burberry knit and like a aquascutum jacket, and I thought, it feels like someone's put this in there just to see my reaction. Like it feels like a prank show or something.
Yeah.
I used to have dreams of me finding things, going to charity shops, going to car boots, and then I'd wake up and be like, oh, what? It wasn't real. It's so nice to see people's reaction when they see a vintage piece for the first time.
There's enough stock at the warehouse to have you searching for hours, and no two pieces are the same. I asked Jack what exactly he was selling and how he finds it.
You can get the most random things in the world, but they do still sell because you can never find them anywhere else. And that's ranging from early 19th century Victorian Edwardian jackets to funny 2000s beer, humour t-shirts. The one day I was at the rag yard picking, I was just getting into the hype of vintage band t-shirts, and when it gets clumped up on the conveyor belt, you kind of just scoop a load off because you never know what's in there. You don't want to just miss it, so you just scoop it off. Usually it's just like generic tourist t-shirts, sometimes nice fade, single stitch, whatever. I picked up a In Utero Nirvana t-shirt, which is worth stupid money. We sell women's wear, men's wear, designer wear. I'd like to think we have a big broader mix, and if you come into my shop it'd be pretty difficult to not buy something.
What differentiates true vintage from contemporary vintage for you?
I would say, in my opinion, I think true vintage is probably mid-80s. Early 80s and anything lower, 70s, 60s, 50s, is vintage, and anything after that is kind of retro contemporary. Although I still sell it and I still think there's some amazing pieces from the early 2000s and 90s, I don't think they are really vintage. You can still get some amazing things from 2009, don't get me wrong, but that's why I kind of mix in everything. A big thing that's happened recently is work jackets. You see a lot of new work jackets, even like the old French battered ones. A lot of new companies are remaking these. Soon people will merge into something else and something else. I like to think that I've kind of covered the whole century, so I should have everything.
What started as a one-man operation has now expanded to a team working throughout the week, sourcing clothes from Jack's most trusted suppliers. I was curious to hear what a standard week at Simply looked like.
Mondays, I go to the rag yard, buy in. I leave the house at 6, don't get home till 6. Tuesdays, I'm sorting. Sam's at the warehouse, Lauren's buying and Dom's buying. Wednesday, Lauren and Dom are buying. I'm at the warehouse, Sam's at the shop. Thursdays, me and Dom are buying. Fridays, it's just a bit hectic, to be honest. I mean, we're buying pretty much every day of the week.
Yeah.
So there's so much new stuff coming in. At the moment, I'm just trying to push everything. And I go by and I'd say I average about 80 kilos. A good time is about 120 and a bad time is probably 50, 80. So I reckon I go twice a week, 160. I reckon there's about 350 kilos a week of stock. Which is mental to think about it.
When you're out basically getting your supply, what do you think gives an item value?
I'd say how well made it is. If you look at old things like a 60s suit compared to even an 80s suit, you can feel the fabric, how much heavier it is, and that is so well made. Even like, for example, buildings now, with the storm the other day, these buildings are not falling down. The new buildings which have just been made, they're ripping apart. It's the same with clothes. That's why people wear vintage clothing. It's because it's so well made compared to the things now. Even 100 years on, you can still wear a pair of Converse shoes or whatever.
Jack works closely with his team to ensure Simply standards are always the highest.
Can you say no to some things?
Yeah.
Like vest damage?
Looks pretty isn't it?
Yep.
No. The thing is with here, Dom, as well, it's got to be pretty special sort of thing.
We have been pretty particular.
That's all right, it's got no marks on it.
I don't think this is real as well.
Yeah, I think it is.
It hasn't got any label on the front.
Right, it's up to you, Lauren. The Carhartt's not cheap there, so. Should I call you back in a second? You can do a big video.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Jack's synergy with his team means they're able to constantly renew their supply with hand-picked items from various eras and of different styles. I asked Jack what he looks for when sourcing and what he thought had made him successful.
I'd like to think that I've got a decent eye and I can see what people want. I kind of look for anything, to be honest. I would look at, obviously, the Nikes, Adidas, Tommy, Ralph, Lacoste, Fila. All the sportswear brands always sell. And the true vintage pieces, when I'm looking for them, I feel like I could almost look with my eyes closed because I'm just, you can feel when something's old because you can feel the wool or you can feel the cotton and you can feel it's heavier, it's chunkier. Again, it's just made better. A lot of people wear gloves and you can't wear gloves because you've got to be able to feel the fabrics. It's grim that you don't wear gloves, but you can't, so.
Jack's eye for quality has built him a good reputation and he now has regular customers who he provides curated stock for.
I used to love people coming to the warehouse and I'd know when they walked in exactly what would suit them and they would go, oh, you know, thanks for finding me that. Or I used to kind of look at styles and I'd be able to tell what people would wear and what would they look good in. If I find a certain jacket or a certain shirt, I'll kind of keep it for someone. And then I have that when they come in next, they have like a nice collection of stuff I think they'd suit. And I'd probably have about 2 or 3 clients a week like that, I'd say. For example, there's like a customer, sometimes I'll keep like Rip Curl and Quicksilver and 90s surf stuff for the one customer, then he'll come in. And it kind of works where in this business you kind of help each other out and then eventually they kind of sort you out.
As well as Jack's customer base in the UK, Simply Vintage now sells to overseas clients.
With my true vintage, I've got a lot of international customers. I've got quite a big Japan base. Not just me, but they love true vintage. You get around 2 or 3 or 4 a month. Not that regular, but they're big spenders and they love British stuff. So anything British workwear, Barbers, Smocks, Burberry's, Aquascutum, these kind of real true British brands, they would love. With the 90s stuff, I used to sell on ASOS Marketplace and you'd sell so many things to like Denmark and Sweden and Switzerland. And then obviously I've got the customer base which is near me, which is my local, almost like my local friends and their friends, and I like to keep that kind of nice and close knit. I like to think that I'm cheap enough to I'm kind of still sorting them out rather than them going online and finding the same sweatshirt for 45, they can come in my shop and buy it for 20.
Providing excellent customer service and being business savvy has meant that Jack can reach wider markets in the UK, specifically in London.
At the moment we've got a pop-up shop in Portobello. I think now I've realised the potential of how much True Vintage does up in London. It's silly me not following the money and going up there and getting a good shop there. Although it's stupid money, it usually comes back. I had some Baby Max in my shop and I sell them for like 100 quid. 80 quid I'd probably take. And Lauren was like, oh, let's price them up and put them in Portobello. She put 320 quid on them. We sold 2 of them. I was like, you're joking me. I said to her, can you do a bit cheaper? Because I think that's embarrassing. She said, no, just leave it. We sold 2 of them.
Simply Vintage has been providing the top level in secondhand for years now and continues to grow. I asked Jack what the future looked like for the business.
Like I said earlier, I like to push everything. I plan to have the warehouse, which will be for people coming in, buying a few pieces a week, and wholesale. I'm going to start pushing my wholesale because I'm going to be buying so much, and I've now got another employee who's buying every day. We're going to push the wholesale here. I'm just hopefully going to get another warehouse unit next door, which will be just for the archive, which will be rental only, which will be for films, designers to come and rent, for photo shoots. If you want an amazing jacket for a party, you can rent it for a week or 2 weeks, whatever. We've just got the heads of agreement come through for a shop in Guildford, which is going to be crazy. Grayshott will be staying there, hopefully, but it'll basically be the website. So everything on the website will be in the Grayshott shop. Guildford shop should be, I would like to think, about a month and a half. It's kind of scary to think about because I never thought about that, but it should be. It shouldn't be long. I mean, it's got a lot of renovation to be done, but it's a big shop and it should be there for years, hopefully.
There are some incredible pieces to see at the warehouse, both in the archive and available to buy. Before we left, we headed over to the Grayshott shop to meet Sam, find out what goes on there and what's on the rails for the customers that come in.
I'm Sam. I work at Simply Vintage. On paper, my title is warehouse manager, but I tend to be a bit here and there and everywhere. So I'm here in the shop today, basically looking after the place at the moment. Stand day in the shop, you get people coming in fairly early. Effectively, it's just people browsing usually. A lot of people do tend to buy things, but you get more people that like to just have a look around the place because there's so much stuff around here. You know, even not the clothes, like there's a lot to look at. So I think it, tends to draw people in. The displays that we have over here. We have someone who looks after the creative side of things called Lauren, and Lauren's really, really good at making things look presentable and drawing people in. So effectively she's on that sort of side of things, and the displays are really what brings people in if they haven't been here before, or if they haven't been to Grayshott at least anyway.
How much stock do you reckon you see come in and out of this shop in a week?
We try to change stock I think at least twice a week in the shop. And I'll tell you what, there's always new stuff coming in. We never tend to have like the same sort of thing come in twice. Obviously you do get some duplicate kind of things here and there, but generally like you see something and you think, that's crazy, I've never seen anything like that before. And it's a great experience when you do to get that kind of moment,
The shop stands out boldly in the quiet town of Grayshott and is just as unique as the clothes are. I asked Sam what kind of customers come in to check out the array of pieces available at the store.
Oh, we get a total variety over here. You could literally get someone coming in who's, just come straight from school around the corner. There's loads of schools around here anyway, so some people just come straight after that. You can get elderly people, you can get anywhere in between, to be honest. It's probably one of the benefits of working in a shop like this is that you get to see and meet so many different people, and that's such a great thing. I don't think you get that in many other places, to be honest. Even if it is just some of the locals, like, it's nice because when they come back in, you know firstly exactly what they're looking for, and you also just have a better sort of bond with them, and it's nice to just chat to people, I think.
The Grayshott shop is an amazing space and is home to a bubbling community of vintage enthusiasts. I asked Sam why people should visit if they've not been before.
If you haven't shopped at Simply before, you should definitely come here due to the variety of products that we have and the range in which we provide. I don't think you get that at a lot of the vintage places. It tends to be more 90s to 2000s stuff, whereas you can find something for everyone here, I think. So that's probably the main stickler, I would say. Grayshott may not be the biggest, most exciting area, but this is probably the place you'd come to Grayshott for.
We had a great time meeting Sam at the shop and settled up for the purchases we'd made that day. I went back to Grayshott a couple of weeks later, and to my surprise, the shop had been completely transformed. I met Lauren and spoke to her about what it's like being the mastermind behind all of this.
I'm Lauren. I've been working for Simply Vintage for 2 years. I kind of cover all the creative side, the Instagram, the shop, and everything else. I think it starts with the window, good outfits on the mannequins. I like everything to be in colour, good displays. Just a nice shopping experience for everyone that comes in.
Having a strong image both online and in store is a vital part of the business. I asked Lauren how she achieves this.
I aim to post a few times a week, so it starts with planning that and seeing what we get in and the good bits, the best bits that we want to preview. I'm a bit fussy, so I take quite a lot of time over Instagram. For the shop, we kind of restock it once a week, so that just involves me going through the new stuff, taking out what's best for the shop and tagging it up, steaming it, washing what needs to be washed and just making it look good.
What kind of stock do you see come through here?
For our customers in Grayshott, we get through a lot of jumpers, jackets, Levi's. The thing is, we do a bit of everything. I think what makes each piece special is that it's not just the brand, but like the design, and we look for that as well. So I think that's quite special.
I knew it was one of a kind, but I wanted to know why Lauren thought Simply was so unique.
I think it's the fact that we're quite a small business, and each piece that comes through the door, one of us has handpicked and decided that that's good enough for us. I think it has quite a personal touch. This shop in particular, it's kind of like a bit of gold in Grayshott. I just think every time you walk in, you're going to see something different. And I think for people to know that behind all that and behind the shop is 3 people enjoying their work and enjoying what we create. I think it's quite nice to come into a small village and see small businesses that put a lot of time into their work.
Shopping at Simply is an incredible experience, and as the vintage market grows, the team there will continue to provide unique items of clothing that can be loved for a lifetime. Want to know how you can pay them a visit? Over to you, Jack.
The shop is open Tuesday to Sunday. Check my Instagram or website for hours. The warehouse, you have to book an appointment via the Instagram or give me a call. We've got 2 accounts on Depop, one selling true vintage, one selling new pieces. We've got eBay, selling contemporary things. We've got vintage, we've got Etsy, we've got ASOS. So I'd like to think we kind of cover everything. I would say the best way to come here is to book an appointment for the warehouse. The warehouse has got so many pieces. We've got about 10,000 pieces in here. Every single piece has been handpicked by me. So I'd like to think every piece has got something about it which someone should fall in love with.
My mum used to collect piggins back in the day.
Is it?
Yeah. The only thing that she actually left was this mad array of piggins.
No.
It's actually a bit of business advice to buy vintage because you're never going to lose money on it.
And you're always going to be wearing something different to the people that are just going and buying whatever's in the shops right now.
Yeah,
or what's
don't be a
hot.
sheep.
Don't be a sheep.
Don't be a sheep, be a shepherd.
Moderation kills the spirit. What is that?
Not just a pretty face. You're well on.
Yeah, man. Pain is just weakness leaving the body.